We all have our trials, but we're never alone. That's what makes our trials triumphant. Trials and Triumphs with your host, Pastor Ladina Boo.
Yes. Good morning. It's Ladina Boo from Stockton, Missouri. And my guest here, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name's Matt Ray. I am the Arizona co-chapter leader for Gays Against Groomers. And with me, we have my wife, Jude Rose, who is also the Director of Communications for Gays Against Groomers.
Yeah, well, y'all, I'm very happy that you agreed to come on my show today so I could talk with you further. As most people know, I've been on this mission to inform people about what they're doing to our children whenever they say, oh, it's okay to transition my child to another sex. They'll be happier. I'm not buying it, okay? They're not going to be happier. They're going to be medically pretty much mutilated. And, they're going to have so many health issues in the long term. And that's one of the reasons that I've asked Matt on here, because Matt actually transitioned to a male at Tavistock in the United Kingdom. And they have since been shut down. And what was the reason they shut down Tavistock?
They shut down the Tavistock for being unsafe for children.
Yeah. And they transitioned a lot of children there, to my understanding, from what I've read. It seemed like about everybody that went there got transitioned.
Yeah, so the Tavistock in the UK is the sole gender clinic. So everyone in the country who wanted to go through transition was sent there, and it's based in London. So if you can imagine the influx of every so-called trans child, or whatever they call it now, being sent to the same location, it's no surprise that things went sour real quick.
Yeah. I know that I had looked at some of the facts and figures, and it seemed like they were not really, educating these children as far as what they were going to be doing to their bodies, or give them any warnings, or the psychological counseling that they should have had prior to being transitioned. Was that your case there?
Yeah, even as an adult, I found the psychiatric evaluation wasn't so much a psychiatric evaluation at all. I was under the impression when I started my journey that I would be asked questions that would give a real sense whether I was making the right decision for my life. And instead, it was very affirmative and more of a questionnaire on what your life looks like at the time. I was asked things like, am I in a relationship? How do I feel? And obviously at the time, my response would have been, I feel like a boy, even though I actually have no idea what that is because I was born a biological female and I've never been a biological male. Therefore, I actually have no idea. And it's only when you distance yourself from this ideology and think about these things that you realize that, and so when I was given the all clear in the psychiatric exam, I remember actually feeling a bit confused by it because I didn't feel like I was quizzed at all. It was just an, okay, that's what you want. And they're doing that with children.
Know.
Even more.
They lied to you. Now, how old were you when you started?
I was lied to pretty badly by them. So after the psychiatric exam, the next step would have been to put me on the testosterone. And they wanted me to get my blood work checked before to make sure that my body could handle the injections. And so when I turned up for my next appointment to get the results, I was really shocked when the doctor turned around to me and told me in that moment, hey, your blood levels, you actually have more testosterone in your body times 10 than a biological female should have. Did you know this means you're intersex? And so I had no idea really what intersex was. I mean, the ins and outs of it, like what diagnosed that. And so I listened to my doctor and I believed the doctor. I have since found out that you don't even check for DSDs that way at all, and I probably just had polycystic ovary syndrome. So instead of being honest with me and telling me I could have had a condition that I could have balanced out and maybe could have changed my mind, they told me I was intersex, and then basically said because I was intersex, I should just go ahead with the transition because I was meant to be a boy anyway.
It's amazing. I can't believe that somebody would act, a medical doctor would actually
Mm-hmm.
say that. Now, how old were you when all of this started?
I was 24 when I first started going through transition. I was going to go. I was socially living as a male a lot sooner, since 2009, but I was going through education and I couldn't take the time off college to start everything. So I waited to start medicalization until that age. And I can tell you right now, at this point, it's not even just children I believe this isn't safe for, because I had all of my health issues as an
Hmm.
adult. I'm 32 now. And so if I can get as sick as I did, and I'll go into that more in a bit, what happened, what is it going to do to these poor children whose bodies and brains aren't fully developed yet?
Yes, that's been a major discourse with me over the last the last year probably, trying to make people understand the dangers of doing this. And I find that a lot of the doctors and the psychologists and so forth, instead of actually doing the research on what's wrong with the child, doing blood work, checking for,
Yeah.
all kinds of different things, that they're afraid of being labeled as transphobic. And
Yes.
so, since they don't want a label of transphobic, everybody's like, okay, go ahead and do it. You know, you're
Uh-huh.
killing an entire generation of children.
They are, and the really worrying thing about it as well is they are being paid to have a very just affirmative approach. You turn up, you say you think you're the opposite gender, they are giving you the green light because that's how you feel, and you should be able to make those choices for yourself, even if you're underage. Yeah, and the other thing they're doing is gaslighting the parents in the most disgusting way, because not all of these parents are allowing their kids to do this out of wanting to look progressive. There is a group that are, don't get me wrong, but a lot of these parents are being gaslit because these therapists are turning around to them and saying, "Hey, would you rather have a dead daughter or a live son?" Which is absolutely disgusting thing to say. And to be honest with you, you're more likely to kill yourself if you go through irreversible surgeries that go wrong than not acting
Right.
on it at all. So it's a very messed up way.
It's such a high risk,
Yeah.
even for an
Last I heard,
guy.
it was like a 50% suicide rate for transgenders. You
Yeah,
know,
this is what's
that
so confusing about this claim. There's a claim that there's some kind of transgenocide, but like they don't really tick any of the boxes. There's such a small minority of people. And like, what is it? Is a suicide risk high? Or are they all being rounded up and put into camps? Like
Yeah.
make it make sense.
uh I've just been so disappointed in the medical field for the last few years, and it started with COVID, but it gets worse because we come out of COVID, and now everybody wants to mutilate their. Not everybody. I
Well, this is the problem.
apologize
They
for
don't
saying that. Okay, just remember the views expressed on this show are mine alone. They'd have nothing to do with Axe Media Group. And if you got small children in the room, you probably want to send them out. But if you're thinking about transitioning them, I want them in the room so they can hear exactly what Matt has gone through over the years. Now, you have a number of health issues that were caused by the medications for your transition. I know you mentioned neurological issues and nerve damage and so forth. What else has gone on with your health since you did this and started detransitioning, or even while you were transitioning?
I was so when I first started transitioning, I want to go back a bit because in the first year, I had some issues, but that was more of a mental sense. One thing they didn't warn me about when I started testosterone was how it can really affect your mood. And before I started the hormone, if I got upset about something, I would lean more towards, tears. I'd get very flustered and I'd cry. And then when I started T, I started feeling anger, and that's not something that I was ever used to, and when you feel an emotion that you're not familiar with, it can make you lose your mind a little bit, and you can feel kind of crazy. And I remember there was a period of time for around the first 6 to 7 months where I'd get agitated by the smallest things, and people would be like, "Matt, what's going on with you? Why are you acting like this?" And it got to a point where I was crying a lot, because I was like, why is it doing this to me? Why am I getting so angry? Why am I getting so frustrated? And I was never given any help, any warning that this would happen. And so that was a really rough period. And then it leveled out, when I'd been on T for a bit. And then it got to around the 7 and a bit year mark on the hormones when I moved to the US. And I started experiencing. I changed, yeah. So I was on a brand called Sustanon 250 in the UK, and when I moved to the US, they don't use that here. They use Cypionate, and so I got put on Cypionate, and pretty soon after is when the issues started to happen. So it started off with just heart palpitations, but they were the kind of heart palpitations where you need to sit down immediately because it takes your breath away. They were pretty intense heart palpitations. The heart palpitations then started turning into like a squeezing feeling. And I thought I was having a heart attack multiple times. One time I woke up in the morning at 3 a.m. clutching my heart, thinking I was going to die right then and there. It was pretty bad. I also started suffering from the worst cystic acne, to the point where, I was told I might get a little bit of acne starting T. I wasn't told that they would be the most painful red lumps where even just something touching them, brushing against something, was excruciating pain. I was suffering from that. Vitamin D levels got completely destroyed, to the point where the second doctor who looked at it said it was at danger level and practically at zero.
So that was giving
that was causing me to have the neurological issues. And all of this got tied back to the testosterone. Both doctors confirmed by looking at my blood chart that the issues it was causing. It damaged my liver as well. Not majorly, but I was suffering from liver damage. Lethargy, like you wouldn't believe. I was waking up in the morning early, and I was tired again by midday. And it was just a really, really miserable time, because I'm someone who likes to work out and I like to take care of myself, and I was bedridden a lot of the time, vomiting a lot. My temperature, I'd go through having fevers to then being freezing cold constantly. Any kind of sickness that was in the air, because my immune system was so low because of the testosterone, I was catching it. And this is as an adult, and it breaks me every day knowing that this is happening to children too, because I thought I was going to die at one point, and if I didn't get the help when I did, there's a possibility that it could have got to that point. So what is it going to do to these poor children?
Now, Jude, you've been with him through a lot of this journey, and I understand you were there when he was having seizures and so forth, and realized what was going on with him. I bet that was heartbreaking. Yeah, and probably made you very, very scared. I can see right now you're getting upset. Can you tell us what it's been like for you, as the two of you are a couple, and how it's gone on? Or
Sorry.
It's been a really hard time.
you'll be fine, sweetheart.
Things have been a lot better lately, which is great, but yeah, that kind of gave me flashbacks. It's been really scary, and I haven't spoken about it a whole lot. There have been a few occasions where Matt wants to speak out, and at one point he wanted us to post a video of the spasms, seizures, whatever it was. We didn't really know what else to do, because We're not in like the greatest situation. Matt's an immigrant. I'm still living with my mom, figuring a lot of things out. And so I was just like, I don't know how this is going to work. Neither of us trust Big Pharma. He was lied to by doctors. We were lied to about COVID. So it was like, where do we go? So I was like turning to like some holistic stuff and just trying my best. And then I was like, this is what's going on, like this is reality. This is what can happen. Not necessarily to everyone, but it was just devastating. And I've just been so scared. It's been a really hard year.
Yeah, I bet it has been. And to think that our medical community allows this, just, I can't understand the insanity. That's all I think it is. It's insanity. But I know that the other detransitioners I've spoken to have talked about the fact that, the doctors and the psychologists and everybody else didn't want to be labeled as transphobic. Now,
Right.
you know, I am not transphobic. I'm going to talk to anybody, but I don't want people to do this to children. It's just
Yeah.
Right.
not
That's our
a
stance.
good situation. Would you say, dear?
That's our stance as well. Like, even though it just doesn't necessarily seem like it safe for everyone, it could go wrong later down the road. Like, we would just prefer if adults take it really slow and educate themselves if they're going to really choose that route.
It seems like a scary route to me. Now, you've had the top surgery, Matt, correct? And you've got issues with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Bad issues, actually, to the point where if I'm trying to cuddle Jude, she can't lay on my chest or anything because it sets off the seizures as well. The nerve damage is so bad that even just gently resting her head there will cause my whole body to start spasming.
That's terrible.
And
I didn't
it's
know
it's
it was
it's,
that
it's
bad.
really inconveniencing as well, because like in everyday life, you're gonna knock your chest every now and then. So I'm on edge all the time trying to protect it, because the slightest thing can set it off. And once it does set off, it lasts a good few minutes. It takes a while, and these spasms hurt as well, because they my whole body just feels like it's tensing, and then really, and it hurts. It's so painful. And when it started, originally I thought it was only with the top surgery that I was getting it, and then as the health issues got worse with the T, they started just happening more regularly. So sometimes multiple times in a day, worse at night. It always got worse at night. And then it started off just at night as well, when it became away from the chest. And then it started happening in the day, and it became a bigger and bigger problem. And it wasn't just physically distressing. I was going through a lot of mental trauma with it too, because the iller I got because of my decision to transition, the more anger I felt towards transition and myself for going through with it. And then I went through the shame period, and I'm still going through the shame period. And that's to do with my parents tried to warn me when I was a kid. As a kid, I thought that they were so mean to me, because they were saying things like, maybe you're a tomboy, maybe you could be a lesbian when you're older. And as a kid, it's a natural thing for kids to think their parents are out to get them, especially when they hit teenage years. And when I look back, my parents gave me the best advice that any parents could have done. And I just didn't listen to them. And then here I am now as an adult, gone through all of this, and I feel nothing but regret and shame. And I can never go back. And these kids can't go back. And I want people to listen to me when I say that. Children, they are having their lives destroyed way before even I chose to destroy mine. And they are having their life destroyed, and it's not their fault, because they can't give informed consent. They are going to school. Little girls are being told, oh, you like cars, you like the color blue, did you know you're a boy? And they're not going to question it, because when kids go to school, what do they think they are doing? They are learning. They are the voiceless. And this is why I want to say as well, like anyone watching this right now, if you have kids, even if you don't have kids, and you think this is wrong and you want to speak up on it, but you're scared because you're scared of being called a bigot, transphobic, homophobic, a Nazi, whatever else these garbage people throw at you, because they do the same rhetoric all the time. This is above all of us. This issue is bigger than how we feel about what others think about us. There are children who are being attacked from all angles right now, and they have no idea what is happening to them. And so it is down to all of us as adults to use our voices, because that's what our voice is there for, and use it for good. No more beating around the bush, sugarcoating things. This is a real issue. This is probably one of the biggest issues in the world right now, because children are the future, and if you destroy the future, there is no future. So use your voice. It is important. Please just speak up. It doesn't matter what they call you, because at the end of the day, you are on the right side of history, and the people who hang their head in shame in the future will be those people, not you, because you're the one who made the stand.
Yeah. I don't care how many names they call me or how many times they threaten me. My thing is we've got to get people in this country to stand up and fight against this mutilation of an entire generation, it seems like, because the schools are so focused on teaching lies right now. They're teaching all these things about various genders and so forth, and then you have the kids going in thinking they're furries, and it's like, you cannot turn your child into a cat. Okay. There's no reason for allowing your child to go around thinking they're a cat or anything of that nature. But then we get into this transgenderism and just trying to make our children something that they're not. And I don't think anybody is addressing to the parents who are taking their kids in for this what the long-term effects are going to be. Now, right now, you've got a lot of issues because you've stopped the testosterone and everything right now. But at this point, you're never going to go back to uh, looking female, really. They've already done all kinds of surgeries on you. Have you had bottom surgery also, or just top?
No. This is one thing I will say is, I know that they lie a lot about how successful top surgery and things can be, but I have never known a time where it hasn't been public knowledge that phalloplasty is a very low success rate surgery. So whenever trans men have decided to get that, obviously I feel bad for them when it does go wrong, but I don't know how they ever made that choice to start with, because the surgery is barbaric for a start. I mean, removing skin from your arm or your thigh, they strip it completely bare to the bone. And they're doing this to kids too, bare to the bone. They strip it right down, and then they craft this so-called penis that doesn't even look like a penis, can I say? It looks like a horrible flesh balloon that doesn't even work also. It has to have, men who can't get erections, they get that pump attached. Yep. So right. You're basically mutilating yourself in the worst way ever for something that's not even going to function and doesn't even look like a penis. It's just absolutely barbaric. That should be illegal in every single way. I don't know how they're allowed to do it, because just if you've got a strong stomach someday, just look at the pictures of what that surgery looks like, because once you see it, you will be like, how has this been given the thumbs up? How is this allowed to happen? It's evil.
And when it goes wrong, it goes really wrong.
Oh yeah, people have to go to the bathroom in bags for the rest of their life.
Yeah, they're like on a catheter forever.
Yeah. Well, I've heard also that those trans women, whenever they try to fashion a vagina and stuff for them, that that's not working too well either. That, I heard one gentleman say that every time he had to go to the bathroom, it was taking him over 30 minutes just to get a flow started, and, just horrible mutilation.
Yeah. Again, once it goes wrong, it goes really wrong. And in many cases with the vaginoplasty, they will take part of the colon to make a faux cervix. So it basically always smells like a colon.
And there's been people coming forward on Reddit who have had the surgery saying it, and they're really embarrassed because it just constantly smells.
And it grows hair on the inside.
Yes, that too. And what shocks me is when I was growing up and everything, and I was looking into all of this stuff, I was under the impression that the male to female surgery had a higher success rate. But since looking into all of this stuff, it's just as bad. I mean, there are people who have the surgery done and then they try to have sexual intercourse, and because they've kept the penis there on the inside, they can't have sex with anyone. They just feel nothing but pain. So again, they are left mutilated.
And you can't have relationships like
no
that.
no
either.
relationship.
No, well, that kind of defeats the purpose and most of the reason why they wanted to transition. I don't think anybody's putting out that particular information. And I've heard too that whenever they're scraping the skin off the arm in order to fashion body parts that don't belong there, that a lot of times people get gangrene in their arm and get all kinds of horrible infections. And, I'm wondering how many of them end up with an amputation just for trying to make something that doesn't work.
It might be rare, but I bet anything it's happened at least once.
Yeah.
So now, how you were what? You said 20 or something when you were transitioning. I've forgotten.
24, yeah.
24. Now, if you had different counseling and more in-depth psychiatric counseling and testing, blood works and things like that to see what was actually going on with you, do you think you would have still made the decision? Because I don't think you really got the counseling that you required before you decided to go ahead and do this.
I suffered from gender dysphoria my whole life, but I can tell you hand on heart right now that if I knew the things I knew now, and I had better people around me, and I don't mean my parents, like I said, they did it great. I mean the people I looked to who led me down the wrong path, YouTubers, influencers. And it wasn't even as bad as it is now, but there was still this romanticized description of transition out there. If I'd have had people who had taught me to love myself how I was and deal with my gender dysphoria in different ways, I honestly think I would have just been a tomboy lesbian, and it might have taken some time to deal with it. I'm sure I would have got there, because I wouldn't wish the health issues that I've gone through on even my worst enemy. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. It's just not worth it. Even with gender dysphoria, it's not worth it. There's this real stigma right now. People have started saying that calling gender dysphoria a mental illness, which it was always known as before, suddenly is wrong. And no, it's not wrong. Anxiety and depression are also classed as mental illnesses, and everyone goes through that sometimes. There is much worse things out there than having gender dysphoria, and so I wish I could have learned the right way to deal with it. And because it's similar to body dysmorphia too, you don't like a part of your body. In this one, you feel like you belong in another one. But I truly believe there are better ways that should be used to try and correct the feeling. And I think transition should be an absolute last resort, because not the ugly truth of transition is that it is a continuous goalpost that keeps getting pushed back, because you will never, ever achieve being the opposite gender. You simply cannot change your gender. So you have this constant empty feeling. No matter how far you go, no matter how much more you pass as the opposite gender, you will never be that gender. And it gets more real as time goes on. Social encounters, when you're treated a certain way. Men naturally are different than women in how they handle things. And I've always got on with guys more, but I definitely noticed differences when it comes to social situations. And the reality of that was kind of hard for me at first, noticing it, because when you start looking like a man too, and people don't know whether you are a biological man or not in public, they will treat you like a biological man. And sometimes it can be quite scary. And so it's a constant feeling of being unfulfilled. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone either, because it's horrible.
You know, I never wish that on a child. You know, the adults that do it, whenever they, as long as they've got great counseling, as long as they understand the long term effects and so forth, well, you know, as an adult, you can do as you want, which you did, you know, and your parents had advised you not to do this, and you went ahead anyway.
Yeah.
But, you know, don't ever do this to a child. I know right now in California, they say if anybody runs away and goes to California and they're 12 years old and just want to say, I identify, that they go ahead and, you know, do it,
Hmm.
whether or not they know what's happening to them, and they don't send them back home if they're 12 years old. And, you know, I don't know when somebody decided that you can't vote until you're 18, but you can go and get a sex change operation when you're 12. You know, you don't have the capacity for that. So why are we allowing this? You know, um, I don't understand. It just makes me sick, and I am so concerned about the children and about what the school systems are doing. I think the school systems right now are probably pushing this agenda way more than they should. You know, what happened to I'm going to be 65 in October. Okay. Whenever I went to school, we had families. We had a certain way of doing things. You know, the girls did this, the boys did that, and they go and have the uh, video about their body parts and how they function when they were, you know, seventh grade or whatever. And now it seems like, you know, kindergarten, first grade, um, they're all being pushed to um, identify as something else.
Yeah.
You know, they're not allowed
They're
to be
pushing the
children.
graphic called the gender unicorn on kids as young as 5,
That's gross.
and something called the gingerbread person. And these graphics both come from really radical, quote, LGBTQ plus rights groups. The gender unicorn actually stems directly from an organization that was co-founded by Eli Ehrlich, who has been admitted to illegally getting hormone drugs to minors.
Yeah, I see
Oh,
where there's
Eli makes
some. Yeah, I've seen on the internet where, you know, you could contact this person and they would give you the cross-sex hormones, and I don't know, can they
They
get
do it.
puberty blockers over the internet, or is it just the
Yep,
cross-sex hormone?
they do it. I think they do. Probably both illegally. I
Mm-hmm.
know at least on Reddit there is definitely a whole function, a whole like back door for an illegal pharmacy. If I might butcher the name, but it's Konoko. Oh, sorry, it's something like that. It's Japanese. But that is on Reddit, and a lot of minors are actually being funneled from chat rooms like places like the Trevor Project, the
Yeah.
Trevor Space. They're being funneled from there after speaking
Yeah.
to total strangers about sex and then being given resources on how to obtain hormones illegally because their parents are just so mean.
Yeah, there's also a member on TikTok uh, who has been making estrogen in her bathtub
Ew,
and giving it to kids.
I don't remember that one.
That's horrible.
Oh, sorry. Bathtub estrogen. I can't think of anything
Uh,
worse, really. But
and you know, back on Matt, what Matt was saying about how this gender dysphoria can really persist after, even after transition. Like most trans people can go through surgery, like up to over a dozen surgeries, just trying to feel happy. Like because once you start, it seems like an addicting thing where the
yeah,
goalposts are always moving and you're always looking at yourself in the mirror and you're still not happy. You're still not happy, but you've transitioned. Maybe a nose job, maybe feminization surgery, maybe this, maybe that'll make you happy. It never ends.
no,
No, you know, I try to avoid surgery, so I don't know why people want to go in and have surgeries all the time. It's like, you know, I get
Like,
enough
I don't
just
even
by being me, huh?
I can't even go to the dentist without being scared of surgeries. Like
Well,
it's
you
yeah.
know, I'm with you all on you know, not being able to trust the pharmaceutical industry, I'm not real big on trusting any medical doctors at this point. You know, I grow my own medicinal plants just so I don't have to go on any kind of medication that they have, because I'm sure sooner or later none of us are going to be able to get the medication we need, even if it's for something as mundane as high blood pressure. But you know, you're going through this detransition and you're having so many health issues now. Are you able to work? Do you hold a job,
I'm still
Matt?
waiting for my immigration to come through. I'm. It should hopefully be through soon because I really miss having a job. I've been a chef for years and years, so I'm just feels weird not being in the kitchen.
Well,
He's such a good
someday I'll come to
food.
Arizona and you can make me a meal.
I'll make you. I'll make you a good meal.
He makes the best chicken pasta I've ever had in my life.
Well, I'm hoping your immigration status gets through now, and I'm hoping that you all would share your story far and wide. If you want to come back again and tell us anything further, I would love to have you. We have run out of our allotted time, though, so they're going to make me shut off at the moment. But thank you for joining me today, and you know, it was wonderful meeting you. And I'm hoping that everybody out there that's watching understands what this is all about, and you know, understand the dangers of pushing your children into something that in 10 years they're going to hate you for. Okay, you know,
Oh yeah.
your parents told you don't do it, and you know, just be a tomboy. I was a tomboy my whole life. I mean, you know, I still go, I like hunting and fishing and all that other stuff. You know, it's a Missouri thing. But you know, don't do this to your children. Don't mutilate your children. And, you know, because right now they're pushing to destroy an entire generation of young people for no good purpose.
And
You
the
know,
nuclear
it's,
family, they're trying to destroy it.
yeah. Yeah, I think they don't like the nuclear family. You know,
You
they've, you know, they want us all in 15-minute cities. So, and, you know, destroy the nuclear family. We'll all be wards of the federal government. And, you know, I'm old enough to say, no way you're going to take me off my farm. Okay. And you're not going to take me out of my church. They've attacked my church a few times because of my status on things and my stand for, you know, children dramatically, you know. So they've attacked my church and busted out all my windows and everything else. So if you speak out on this stuff, know that you're probably going to get some really
yeah.
nasty mail, or you're going to get some hate messages or something. But, you know, your bigger focus should be on saving our children. And so, you know, Gays Against Groomers, they work very hard on this. I know the California chapter just works like crazy out there, just because California is crazy. Is it as bad in Arizona? Or
It's not as bad here, but it's slowly becoming bad because of Hobbs. Katie Hobbs has vetoed some very, very dangerous bills. There was a bill to protect women from men going in their spaces, and she vetoed it. She also has just declared a bill where trans people, including minors, are now going to be able to get puberty blockers and hormones off of the medical industry rather than having to pay for them like they did before.
Yeah, so taxpayers' money essentially.
Yes.
oh,
So it's
nice.
it's slowly becoming California.
Well,
So-
they're all coming from there as well.
that
so.
too, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. You know, there are days in my life when I just wish California would fall off in the ocean. California, Oregon, Washington, you know.
It's prophesied, you know. It is prophesied that California will break off one day.
You know,
Who knows?
San Andreas Fault is going to take California, and you know, the
Yeah.
swamps are going to take Florida back over.
You know.
But you know, like I say, this is just as an issue that I want all of those who are out there that are associated with the church, whether you're a pastor, whether you're just a congregant, whatever you're doing, you're a Sunday school teacher, you have to help stand up and save our children. And, a lot of people can't figure out why I keep talking to the Gays Against Groomers people, but I have to say that they are probably the most vocal organization out there to try to stop what's happening to our children. And I bless you guys all the time. I pray for y'all every day. I want y'all to get more people involved, and I want to see the churches involved. We all need to stand up and stop this stuff that's going on. And so those are my prayers, and I hope that some of you will join me in that, and also join me in standing up. Sometimes I get lonely out there by myself.
You're not alone, though. You
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
You've got your corner, but there's a lot of people in it.
Well, we're going to shut down here at this point, but you can, if your friends want to watch, it is on the Axe Media Group Facebook page. You can watch it anytime, or we're on the AMG Broadcasting YouTube channel, and you can see it there also. Tomorrow we'll roll over to Rumble if that's where you want to watch it.
Awesome.
And then you can always catch this show 3 times a week on Radio Free America. It's our station from here. You can get the Get Me Radio app and make Radio Free America a favorite there, or you can get my tuner and find Radio Free America on that station also. And so spread this around. Get it as far and wide as you possibly can. I want people to understand the dangers of this. And I thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story today. A lot of people are just too afraid to come out and talk. And I'm so happy that you two decided to join me today.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. Well, you just have a blessed life, and I'm now going to shut us down here because everybody left me to my own devices. So I'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.